आगे गतिमान रहे। इन्हीं भावों को लेकर के यह कार्यक्रम आज के दिवस पर आप सभी के बीच में है। कार्यक्रम की समयावधि को देखते हुए मैं आमंत्रित करूंगा मिस करुणा सैनी मैम को कि आए और आज की मुख्य वक्ता लवी शर्मा मैम का पूर्ण परिचय प्रदान कर उनका आगमन हेतु स्वागत कर उन्हें अभिनंदित करें। करुणा सैनी मैम।
Thank you, Nagesh Pandey sir. A very good evening to all of you. So आज के टॉपिक के लिए मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगी लवी शर्मा मैम को. She is an occupational therapist and currently working in Delhi Public School, Gurugram. She has done her educational qualifications from two of the most reputed institutions, that is Pandit Deen Upadhyay National Institute for Persons with Physical Disabilities and Indian Spinal Injury Center. She has been awarded as Best Academic Research Work in her master's. She also received gold medal for her research work from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi. She believes that learning is a lifelong process, so so she keeps going herself in that process. She by pursuing various types of short and long-term courses. The use of artistic method. Uh, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, audible.
Art therapy is a way by which we can treat numerous psychological disorders and we can enhance anyone's mental health. With the help of art therapy, we can foster learning and well-being. Now, I would like to call Lavi Madam so that she can take over from this point and share her valuable information with all of us.
Good afternoon. So with this, I'll be starting the topic without taking further time. I'll just request you all to let me know whether you can see this entire screen. I'll be sharing my screen as of now. Is this visible? So, ma'am?
Yes, visible.
Okay. So taking on today's topic, which is therapeutic art-based interventions in rehab and their significance.
Sorry to disturb. Uh,
Yes, sir.
Presentation are not visible.
Is it? It's not visible,
Yeah.
sir? Okay,
Yes,
just
no.
hold on. Let me again reshare it. Sir, I will be resharing it. Just let me know if it is visible right now. Is it, sir?
Yes, now it's visible, ma'am.
Yes,
All
visible.
right. Okay, thank you so much. So as we will be starting with the background of art-based therapy, and then we'll be just studying about the neuroscience and how the art actually helps us to enhance our rehabilitation part, and then we'll be working on the art-based methods. It's just the content that I have covered here. Moving on to the next slide. So as we all know, WHO has also defined that the components of whole self include mental, emotional, spiritual, physical well-being, and so our self-expression and our energy levels, all these things must be in an appropriate balance. So how do you as a common person, without even considering whether you are a rehab professional or not, how will you be defining the art? So if you can just write in one sentence or something, I would be I would like to know your perspective. How will you be defining if it comes to art, and how do you think we can actually relate art with the rehabilitation part? So if just you can put it in one word, I'll try to just go through one or two of them. Looks like I can't as of now access the chat box. Okay, so fine. So just taking further the background part of art. Art is a creative process wherein we can actually express ourselves in a safe way. We can express our inner experiences, develop awareness, and support a personal change. Along with creating art, the art therapist may use relaxation, visualization techniques, and guided imagery in their entire session. So there are two associations worldwide that are working on art-based methods, and which are American and the Britain-based. So basically, they define art therapy as an integrative mental health process wherein human service professions which are enriching the lives of individual and their families. So we are applying the creative process to the psychological theory, जिससे कि हम लोग ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट पे काम कर रहे हैं. So it's a treatment approach where we are integrating the psychotherapeutic techniques with the creative process to work on the well-being. So it involves visual art related exercises from sketching and coloring to sculpting and molding. So कहाँ कहाँ हम आर्ट थेरेपी को यूज कर सकते हैं? ब्रीफ में मैम ने जैसे कि एक्सप्लेन किया, मेंटल हेल्थ डिसऑर्डर्स के लिए हम आर्ट थेरेपी को बहुत अच्छे से यूज कर सकते हैं. एंजाइटी हुआ या फिर डिप्रेशन है, अगर किसी को, अगर हमें पता है कोई एडिक्टेड है या किसी को कोई बहुत ट्रॉमा इन्फ्लिक्ट की है या एज रिलेटेड इश्यूज हैं, और अगर किसी को नॉर्मल डे टू डे लाइफ में एक्स्ट्रा स्ट्रेस हो रहा है या ईटिंग डिसऑर्डर्स हैं, इमोशनल डिफिकल्टीज हो रही हैं, चैनलाइज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, प्रॉपरली एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, फैमिली रिलेटेड इश्यूज आ रहे हैं, पर्सनल इश्यूज, कैंसर पेशेंट्स में, यहाँ तक कि हॉस्पाइस केयर में, पेलिएटिव केयर में, ट्रॉमा बाउंड केसेस में आर्ट का बहुत अच्छा रोल होता है. एंड एक्चुअली दीज पेशेंट्स रिकवर बेटर एंड दे शो इम्प्रूवमेंट. सो बेनिफिट क्या है? सबसे पहला आर्ट बेस्ड मेथड का अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं तो सबसे पहली इंपॉर्टेंट चीज, आप किसी भी एज ग्रुप के साथ ये मेथड्स यूज कर सकते हो. लाइक इफ यू नो, इफ इट्स अ चाइल्ड लाइक अबव 2 years ऑफ एज और 3 years से लेके ओल्ड एज क्लाइंट्स के साथ, आप हर एज ग्रुप के साथ इसको यूज कर सकते हैं. और जनरली ज्यादातर हर बीमारी में आप जो भी ट्रीटमेंट मेथड प्लान कर रहे हैं अपने पेशेंट्स के लिए, उनके साथ साथ आप इसको एज अ साइड में एक मेथड यूज कर सकते हैं. देन सबसे आसान चीज ये है कि इसमें आपको बहुत ज्यादा मोडालिटीज या बहुत बड़ा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं चाहिए. एक टेबल टॉप एक्टिविटी के तरीके से भी आप यूज कर सकते हैं. इवन इफ यू हैव जस्ट 2 or 3 स्टेशनरी आइटम्स, तो भी आप मेथड्स को अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. सो बहुत बड़ा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, फ्यू मोडालिटीज के साथ भी आप ये कर सकते हैं. इसमें कुछ सही और गलत का कोई फंडामेंटल रूल नहीं होता है. तो ये बहुत अच्छा तरीका है जिससे कि पेशेंट का जो है कॉन्फिडेंस भी बूस्ट होगा. इट हेल्प्स टू बिल्ड अ रैपो विद द क्लाइंट. एट टाइम्स क्लाइंट ऑलरेडी एप्रीहेंसिव होता है, वो घबराया हुआ होता है, वो थेरेपिस्ट के सामने एकदम से अपनी बातें एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाता है. तो आर्ट एक अच्छा मीडियम बन सकता है जिससे कि आप रैपो बिल्ड कर सकते हैं अपने क्लाइंट के साथ. सो इट गिव्स यू अ रूम टू एक्सप्रेस. एक्सप्रेशन आ रहा है, क्लाइंट ओरिजिनल हो सकता है, अपनी बातचीत कह सकता है और अपनी नीड्स और वांट्स भी बता सकता है. So that is why art-based methods are always good, and they could be used with, as an adjunct along with the other therapies that you have planned for your client. So why it's a powerful method? So अगर मैं बहुत थोड़े थोड़े components में अगर इनको subdivide करूँ तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बात यह है कि आप बहुत डिफरेंट टेक्सचर्स पे काम कर सकते हैं. बी इट ऑन अ canvas, if you want to see, I just got some canvas thing as well. canvas पे जो कि टेक्सचर डिफरेंट होता है, आप A4 शीट पे भी काम कर सकते हैं. आइवरी जो कि बहुत स्मूथ होती है, या और भी बहुत तरीके के वुडन सरफेस हो गया, किसी भी तरीके के टेक्सचर पे काम कर सकते हैं, इंक्लूडिंग राइस, इवन फ्लावर, तो अलग अलग चीजों से. देन कलर्स. So you can work with various colors. कलर्स से आप क्लाइंट के मूड को भी समझ सकते हैं, पेशेंट की उस वक्त की मानसिक स्थिति को भी समझ सकते हैं, जो कि बहुत ही जरूरी है. काउंट्स पे कि कितनी देर करें, होल्ड करना, रिलैक्स करना, वेट करना, इन सारी चीजों के बारे में आप ध्यान कर सकते हैं. अल्फाबेट मेथड्स. अगर आपको दिख रहा है कि आपका पेशेंट बहुत बेसिक भी चीजें नहीं कर पा रहा है, तो अगर आप इजी मेथड्स इनकॉर्पोरेट करेंगे तो एटलीस्ट उसको सेंस ऑफ फुलफिलमेंट भी मिलेगी और वो और परफॉर्म अच्छा करेगा। इन सच अ सिचुएशन आप अलग अलग अल्फाबेट्स उससे ड्रॉ करवा सकते हैं आर्ट के मीडियम से। एक मल्टी सेंसरी इनपुट मिलता है उसको, अलग अलग फिजिकल एनवायरनमेंट में आप ये करा सकते हैं। इससे उसकी अटेंशन इंप्रूव होती है, उसका ध्यान बेहतर होता है, और इट्स अ विजुअली अपीलिंग मेथड। उसकी आईज को ये बहुत ही अपीलिंग मेथड होता है। तो जब भी हम लोग इस तरीके के मेथड्स अप्लाई करते हैं तो क्लाइंट बहुत इंटरेस्ट के साथ करने लगता है, और क्लाइंट ही नहीं, अगर उसके साथ कोई आया होता है या आसपास लोग होते हैं तो उनका भी इंटरेस्ट आता है। सो इट्स अ वेरी गुड वे हाउ यू कैन वर्क ऑन देयर सेल्फ एस्टीम and their standing with other people. It's a creative expression. It helps them to build a socio-emotional bonding, which is another important area to be in a society. Okay, so again, I have taken this from the American Art Therapy Association part only. So how art therapy can be used. So basically, it is helping you to improve the cognition. It is helping you to improve sensory motor function, cultivate emotional resilience, foster self-awareness, foster self-esteem, promote the insight, enhance social skills, and reduce the conflict. So what happens inside the brain, ये बहुत ही important है. टेक्निकल एस्पेक्ट्स बहुत ज़्यादा आई हैवंट यूज्ड बिकॉज आई रियली वांट कि ये जो इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ें हैं वो हम समझें. ये ज़रूरी इस वक्त नहीं है कि हम ये जानें किस पार्ट को कब क्या इनपुट मिल रहा है. सो जब भी हम किसी भी आर्ट को देखते भी हैं, सो आवर ब्रेन इज वर्किंग. सी हम उसको एक विजुअल इंफॉर्मेशन दे रहे हैं जो वो रिसीव कर रहा है, वो उसको प्रोसेस भी करता है. सो इट्स लाइक अ लाइफ लाइक पोर्ट्रेट, एक अलग अलग एंगल से, जो कि स्टिम्युलेट करता है ब्रेन को टू ऑब्जर्व कि कैसे कैसे पैटर्न्स हैं, कैसी कैसी शेप्स हैं, और उनका एनवायरनमेंट में क्या रोल है. सो दैट इज हाउ सबसे पहला इनपुट विजुअल मिलता है. उसके बाद उसको रेप्लिकेट अगर वो करेंगे तो वो मोटर एस्पेक्ट कम्स इनटू प्ले. So the foundation, this is from a study only ki how intersections of neuroscience and art are actually done. So basically the study talks about the specific way कि कैसे art benefit कर रहे हैं neuroscience को. So हम कैसे humans ने करना शुरू किया काम art पे, जिससे हमने realize किया कि how it is actually helping neuronal connections. It is helping corpus callosum to develop stronger connections and healthier ones. So it's again acting on the nervous system and the neuron of the brain. So the process in which visual information is received and then interpreted by the brain and integrated with other sensory and emotional memory systems to form the basis of our behavior, and that is how we react in the environment, social environment. The approach demonstrates the power of interdisciplinary knowledge. So it's just not you can categorize art as it's the field of art, or but it could also be clubbed with the science aspects or the fact-based knowledge. So it's a multi-layered approach which is that explores why humans make art and why it's central to therapy. So initially I covered what are the different टाइप्स एक्चुअली. सो आप अपने पेशेंट पे कौन कौन से डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ आर्ट थेरेप्यूटिक मेथड्स लगा सकते हैं या उनको एंगेज कर सकते हैं फॉर वेरी डिफरेंट रीजंस. वो दैट डिपेंड्स ऑन द गोल दैट यू आर वर्किंग ऑन. सो बहुत सारे आर्ट थेरेपीज हैं दैट माइट सूट स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट्स. सो मोस्ट कॉमन फॉर्म्स आर यूज सिंपल टू. सो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जैसे कि हमने पहले भी डिस्कस किया है कि यू जस्ट डोंट नीड वेरी huge infrastructure or precise tools. You need simple things and just a little planning. क्या करना है, कैसे करना है. Try to apprise your patient before. Just in a group setting करना है या आप individually जैसे भी आप करना चाहते हैं. So it depends on it's actually a two-way street. So if you see that your client is more interested to do it this way, then probably you can design your activity as such. So the 15 therapeutic methods that I have clubbed here include. So there could be many more, but then probably that is how I was able to segregate them for today's thing. So sketching. So patient can use drawing therapy to relax. Basically, it's a very good way how they can relax and they can even pen down their emotions and ideas. So at times even we do it, we just sketch even the furniture, not you have to draw a caricature or a person, but then there are various tools that could be used to draw simple objects. So like pencil, crayons, and all these things could be used to draw shapes even and complex structures. So it's very useful, and it offers the freedom basically, which is very important for a client. When See, you have to understand, when client is coming to your place, he or she is already in such a trauma and probably they might be in stress कि अब क्या करवाया जाएगा. जो ये सबसे पहले ये जो चीज होती है, इससे ही आधे लोग घबराए होते हैं. So if you are actually offering them a medium where they can express, they can be free, और बहुत ज़्यादा supervision नहीं मिल रहा है, so probably they'll act better. So that's why this is one of the most important thing that must be kept in mind. Now coloring, बहुत basic है, and this is best for kids and especially till age group of 8. It's one of the best methods, and I believe that most of the students, even in the school curriculum, get so many books wherein they have to color. So filling within the sketches or any book, it's very good. It helps people to relax their brain, the part of the brain, amygdala, and then it helps in focusing basically within the lines, color karna, or even if they are coloring outside the box, then you can actually figure out so many things, ki what goes inside, and you have to motivate them for this part. And then this promotes mindfulness, quietness, attention build karte hain, and then you can work on multiple areas, and then it helps him to calm their restless mind and unwind and relax. So basically, I just clubbed the advantages of coloring. It's helping you to reduce the stress, it's stimulating your logical thinking and creativity, selection, choice of color. There are so many things that you can actually see through. It helps to clear the mind and boost the concentration. It sharpens your brain and helps you to think better. Has effects similar to that of meditation. So it's a very good exercise, and it helps you to relax. It acts as a therapy and lets you calm when you feel stressed, provides a way to boost your self esteem, brings out the creative side of a person by choosing artistic colors. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is painting. Probably painting would not be the first choice if you have seen the patient for the first time. उसका रीजन ये है कि at times patient बहुत apprehensive भी हो, and then painting के लिए थोड़ा सा they might need some professional guidance as well. So probably this is not the first choice always, but if you know your client is comfortable, then you can go about with it. It involves using blank canvases, brushes, and different type of paints. So these days we have watercolor methods, acrylics, spray paints, gesso, and multiple type of textured paint. If you will go about, they are thick to thin. So probably that will help them to understand the depth of the part and working again on the attention, stimulating their brain, choosing, picking on, and how to plan their painting. So you can use all these things, and then it allows the patient to use fluid motions like again smear, streak, and even resin art could also be a part of it. So that is the thing. As paint supplies less control, so it requires, that is what I'm saying, it requires more of an additional training or the supervision. So now moving on to the fourth, and which is one of my personal favorite, mandalas. In Hindi we even call it mandal. So it has been taken up from a Sanskrit word. It's a sacred symbol used for meditation, prayer, healing, and it's a it's a very basic and important part of art therapy. So it has making mandala is very very therapeutic, and it's a symbolic activity that simulates creativity, and it's a way to release emotional blockages. Creating is a form of art therapy. It reduces anxiety, tension, and overall stress. So basically, if we'll go back to the neuroscience of mandalas, there is a connection between the brain's anatomy and the mandala. So the word again, as I was telling, it has been used in many religions also, like Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity. So it's gaining popularity because of its therapeutic properties. It's very basic. You just can start from a circle or a dot, and then you can go about then plan and do whatsoever you want to do, from dot to shapes to circles to angular things, so what not. So the psychological view on mandala, it's healing one, and it's widely used in therapies to reduce stress and to work on anxiety, depression, and to work on their focus, attention, and many more ailments. So basically, it has been used in many cultures, and it revolves around circle only. So now they are extensive part of art therapy, and if you are actually talking about art therapy, mandala takes a seat. So basically, mandala is a full-fledged part of it. Considering the current trends and data in neuroscience, art demonstrates the basis of effectiveness of mandala lies in changes occurring inside the brain. So there are multiple studies that talks about कि मंडाला से इतने ज्यादा ब्रेन में आप डिफरेंसेस देख सकते हैं कि यू विल बी एबल टू अमेज कि ये स्ट्रेस में इतना रिडक्शन कैसे आ रहा है. सो बेसिकली आई वुड सजेस्ट, इफ किसी भी क्लाइंट को आपको अगर पता है कि मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज हैं या कुछ भी उस तरीके के रिलेटेड कोमॉर्बिड फैक्टर्स भी हैं, तो just give them a piece of paper which has just concentric circles. Start from that, and it is going to help them out. So it's a great stress reliever and therapeutic. It's a meditation's alternative. Then it refreshes the brain, sparks creativity, boosts immune system, reconnects your inner child, and cures ailment. Moving on to doodling and scribbling. So as of now, I've just covered this as a part. Then when we'll be talking on the interpretation part, then doodling and scribbling will take a major role there. So scribbling or doodling, like drawing, uses a writing tool and a plain surface. Now, if you're going and just discussing about doodling and scribbling, you just can't ask a client to just doodle and give something to them. If you'll be doing that, probably, though that is the part coming from uh I'm so sorry. Okay, so that will be coming from their conscious mind. So what you can do is ask a client to bring any piece of notebook or something where they have already doodled. So something that has already been done in the past could be used for your study and interpretation, that can help you understand their brain and what's going around in their subconscious mind. So that's the way how you can differentiate between the doodling. And for the scribbling part, you can just ask them to take a piece of paper and scribble on. Let's do it with other activity, and even with the journaling part. So that's how scribbling and doodling are slightly different. So it involves making lines without specific idea or a picture. Just don't give them any instruction as per se while you want to assess their scribbling or doodling. So it helps the client to release their stress and work on their thought modification also. So it also allows more freedom and less pressure to create a visually pleasing piece of art, and we'll be coming up to that again. So never ever assume that the role of art therapy is to create a visually pleasing art form. So please always keep this in mind. Coming to finger painting, which is again a second favorite activity, I must say, because it's again using your hands. It's a hand based activity. You're working on fine motor prehension, you're working on releasing stress, you're working with colors which again have their own energies and their vibrations, you're working on your neuronal circuits. So it's a very fresh kind of an exercise. It's actually emotionally and psychologically uplifting. Whether done with kids, आप बच्चों के साथ भी कर सकते हैं, बड़ों के साथ भी कर सकते हैं. It is highly engaging, and it involves activities that improve concentration. So finger painting is another interesting activity. You can even use multi-sensory textures and stimulations for doing finger painting. और आप दोबारा different mediums में भी कर सकते हैं, again to stimulate and provide them with the input. Kinesthetic and proprioceptive. Photography. So nowadays it's little it's more of a modern technique. I would rather like to precisely mention the diagnosis where you can use photography as say. For example, if you have a case of autism or ADD or ADHDs or higher functioning, it could actually be a very good activity for them, because one thing is they have a better intelligence and good with computers or operational computer. So it helps them to be good with segregating pictures and be able to compile them all. So editing software and further enhancing the pictures, and with phone and other type of gadgets, taking unique moments, such a thing could actually be more uplifting for them, and they can even opt for such vocations henceforth. So it helps them to recreate memories, as well as it you can work on their memory part also and the recall using this method. Making collages, so this is another interesting way and again uplifting. It helps them to boost their confidence, and you again have a journal kind of a thing which you can keep in handy, something that gives you a sense of accomplishment. So collages involve existing photos and other art supplies. You can even create some writing memories and cues wherein the client will be asked to arrange them in a particular order, henceforth working on their cognition along with the artistic and creative side. So basically using all these art based supplies and whatever is common, and then enabling them to plan their session. Making collages helps to benefit the release pressure and be more skilled in art technique, and be able to create a piece of art, something that they have in their hand. So while making collages, patient focuses more on constructing, planning, executive functioning, and have a fresh look of things. Sculpting, this is more of a molding part. So it involves shaping, carving a figure through a hard material. So it's again a tactile form wherein a client is working on a 3D medium. And why it is important is something again they are doing with their hands. And whenever we are working on 3D dimensions, it helps them to work on their visual perceptual areas as well, which is another important aspect. So you can enhance their visual skills, spatial relations, uh, through the sculpting method. So it improves psychological attributes such as mental state, attention, memory, self reliance, and confidence. Henceforth. So carving, another method which is very interesting, and I think the children of middle age group or middle school group actually enjoys this activity. So basically cutting a shape or a pattern into a wood or stone and other material by scraping, and again working on prehension and in hand manipulation is very interesting. So patients can use multiple tools, but there is one precaution to be taken care of. Such activities must be done along with the one-on-one care. And then, if you think that patient has a self-harm tendency as per se, then probably you should not be using knives or any sharp tools. So it takes more of time and effort. So probably you have to apprise your client and iterate again and again, so that they don't feel exhausted at times, but substantial source of satisfaction once the activity is done is going to make them more confident. So molding clay, this is again an activity which you can actually start from very early years of a child to the geriatric patients as well. Like they we all like to work with textures. So again, molding a clay using different types of pressure is a very good activity. You can use colorful clays, and you can work on creating different shapes, working with the pressure, proprioception, scooping, and all these things must be very engaging for your client. Making cards, another activity which is more inclined towards the journaling part. How to make greeting cards could be particularly theme based, and how they can actually enhance on creative side of the client. It combines with several art forms like doodling, coloring, to painting and crafting. For patients, card making can offer an endless potential to just exhibit their creative side and prove how engaging and uplifting the activity is. Moving on to the craft part, nowadays we have seen that patients who are facing such mental health issues can actually use craft as their vocation even. So probably treating your client with art based methods through craft can actually aid them and give them guidance to open horizon for different vocations. So it's a skill again of making objects with bare hands, and you can use multiple things like flowers, like origami papers and ribbons and whatnot. So it helps to improve mental agility, enhances gross and fine motor function, works on their cognitive aspects as well. Fine. Using textiles. So textile have, I think, been a very uh, I must use the term that the cloth aspect has been very historical. Like we have been doing it from years and years. So patients who cannot use art supplies can use the cloth or even a handkerchief will do well. So using whatever is available within the reach, and even toys or soft toys. So they add the sensory aspect to creating art like stitching, knitting, weaving, especially with the clients who are good with sitting and doing activities with their hands. It helps them to improve their concentration and work through their emotions. These art form allow patient to solidify their identities. So moving on to the 15th one, which is again a digital art like photography again. It is indicated for the clients with autism or ADD, but is not limited to them even. So offering them ample flexibility, it helps them to explore the designs and other editing part. So a very important aspect that I really want to talk about here, for any client who is entering your therapeutic environment or a place, must be iterated and reiterated that artistic skills are not at all required for any art therapy. You don't need to be so pro in art when you are holding a color as per se. So the aim is not to create something very beautiful. The aim is to go about with whatever is coming your way and just enjoy and relish the process. Within the process, you will be benefited with the things. So basically, it's their own choice. So it's more about fulfillment and not about creating something that is visually appealing. So skills in arts are not always necessary, but interest in pursuing the activity and then accomplishing the activity is more important here. Fine. So now comes more of a technical part and the scientific basis. There are multiple assessment tools, but I've just tried to name few and I'll be discussing a couple of them as per the time because we have time constraints. So there are multiple tools like scribble methods, house tree person test, loose shade, then there is a bird's nest and cow personality test, doodle and scribble, stoop test. So there are multiple, not limited to, there are other assessment tools also, but we'll be discussing a couple of them just to have a basic idea. So the bird's nest, which is a very important and an interesting test, it helps to figure out the attachment issues. It was developed by Donna Kesar in 1993. Basically, it is going to help the clients with the suppression and anxiety. So we all know that there are four kinds of attachment styles. If you know that your client, maybe the child or even the older one, is having certain issues, then probably you can tap on these things and ask the client to just draw a bird's nest. And you can see then there are certain focal areas like bird, nest, tree, background, colors, point of view, food, eggs, other animals, season, climate, and cloud writing, abstract. So whatever has been done on a piece of paper, you have to interpret according to them. So basically, you'll be scoring it accordingly and watching what is available and what they have not done. So probably you can figure out why the client is being so suppressed or is anxious, and probably you can work on all these aspects in your coming sessions through other methods as well. Moving on to the another test, which is cow personality test, which is a projective test. It was designed by UC Berkeley. It's a very famous test wherein you work on the you just assess the personality and you work on the personality as well. One more thing about the art therapeutic test is the assessment and the treatment goes hand in hand. So when the client is creating for the assessment part per se, you have to consider that you're also working on their treatment part. So basically, few things to take care while the client has drawn the cow are cow's tail, how is the size as per the sheet of paper, the presence of udders, the size of the ears, shapes, and the head, and the presence of horn. These are the few focal areas that you will be observing, but not limited to, because you have to see whatever they are drawing in the environment as well. So that defines their subconscious state too. So now coming back to doodles and scribbles, it's actually a very huge and a topic which needs a more supervision. So probably you'll have to work day in and out how your client is doodling and scribbling. So basically, just to distinguish them, there's just a thin line. Doodle is a technique and scribbles are a process. While doodling, one is aware of the process, and when they scribble, they are unaware of the process. So basically, with the subconscious mind, they are scribbling, scribbling, scribbling. And doodling could be done like while they are engaged in making flowers, or engaged in making just a mountain over the boundary or the marginal area of a sheet of paper. Yet they both are flowing from an unconscious, they both are engaging and letting vent out the way. So basically, studying them is more important so that you can understand the client psyche. Administration, they are administered through a basic method, giving them a sheet of paper, and then just remember, when you see that client is emotionally disturbed, try not to assign them such an activity. Just relaxation is important, calming them down is more important than just assigning them the activity. Their mental health and their mental state is more important than any assessment or any other uh, study. Calm the person before administering the tool, and then ask them to imagine or visualize, and then do the part. Okay, so if doodles need to be analyzed, the therapist must be instructed, and then you have to go about with the process. Samples must be collected, and then you can analyze them later, but don't just go in front of client and then keep on addressing the issues or whatsoever. Just try to make a notes, and then politely address them in the coming sessions. So basically, why scribbles? Why? So they can help you understand multiple intelligence of an individual, core thinking patterns, which involves four thinking scientifically patterns, or logical thinking, correlative, lateral, and non-conceptual. So basically, it can help them enhance their skill to be able to fight their own problems, solve their own issues, and work within the environment in a socially acceptable way. Fine. How to understand a spontaneous scribble? So basically, this was another psychological research, and I really wanted to address these points because these are very basic, and you can observe them straight away when your client has done a scribbling or given you a sample. So lines, they illustrate the positive words, contain more curves. Then negative ones, in contrast, are more angular. So you have to see the psyche of the client. At times, client is very depressed and comes with a very negative tone. Then probably you can observe these things to be matching up. Number of angles and the curves actually is a function of emotional intensity, how intense their emotions are on that particular day. Irregular zigzag lines or the sharp lines correlate with their anger or hatred. So you have to, though we cannot directly translate or just tag them with the emotions, but then probably can understand their state and address accordingly. So types of scribbles, there are 10 kind of bifurcations that have been given as an interpretation part. So whenever you see there are certain dots or tap like of a thing in a scribble, it is associated with their memory part, and probably they are good with memory. But the problem is, if they are too good with the memory, then probably they might find it difficult to let go of things. So you have to be careful how the pros and cons are actually working or acting on their mental health. Then comes the line. Then comes the topic of vertical lines. If you can see multiple vertical lines, so it depicts their logical or mathematical intelligence, and so they are thinking. But in case if you see that client is lacking in this area, probably you can ask them to color vertical lines or draw multiple vertical lines. So again, the treatment and assessment goes hand in hand. Then comes horizontal lines, which depicts the emotional intelligence and the emotional thinking. If you see that the client is on a very diplomatic side, then probably you can ask them to draw or trace multiple horizontal lines. Diagonals, again, depicting The lateral concept, so if you can see multiple diagonal lines, probably they are good with all the above areas. Henceforth, they are more creative in their decision making skills, in their activities as well. Then there comes the concave or the convex structure of lines, which depicts their self control, but at the same time, kind of a shallow thinking, which needs to be in moderation to prevent the person from swinging into extremes. So the flower patterns can be a part of concave or the convex, so which gives momentary happiness to the client. Moving on to the multiple vertical lines. So you can see the client drawing multiple overlapping lines. Another thing to address with the scribbles is whenever you'll see overlapping lines, you probably might find that client is very much inclined towards perfection or is more apprehensive about their artwork. So you can always counsel them and encourage them that whatever they are doing is must not be again visually appealing, but it must be something that is helping them to channelize their emotions. So multiple vertical lines depicts musical intelligence and exploratory thinking. Then moving on to the horizontals, if you can see multiple of them, then it talks about the spatial intelligence related to the space aspects and investigatory thinking. Then multiple curved lines, they depict the critical or convergent thinking and kinesthetic intelligence. They are good with the movement. Drawing open lines and drawing enclosing lines. So they depict the bilateral thinking and the spiritual intelligence of the client. So basically, this was another scribble-based test done by the Jake Pearson. So it talks about the personality and how a person's personality could be assessed through the scribbles and the doodles. So just not reading these points, but I would like to see these pictures. Probably we all might have seen these different patterns drawn on any sheet of paper or any. So we generally do what is we generally bring in the sheet of paper which has all these 8 patterns, and then we ask the client to pick one of them. So when they pick accordingly, we'll be providing them with a reading and we'll be trying to understand their emotions based on the item picked by them. So it helps us to understand their personality type. There are other personality tools as well, but it could act and aid in understanding more of their subconscious state at that particular time. So with the time, I'll be rushing more. So moving on to the next part. So whenever you're asking your client, you can see another area. Many of the times you will be finding that the person is having anger issues, because mental health issues are very much overlapping, and anger is one of the common presentation that is very easily evident. So if you can see that the client is very edgy or client is showing anger symptoms, so probably you can ask them to scribble or to draw or doodle, and you can observe the previously done doodle thing, and you can observe these anger based patterns. So there are certain type of angers. There are 10 categories given here. You can study the structure, how they are actually drawing their pointed lines, and you can understand what's happening and what's going around them, and probably try to aid them accordingly. So if the anger is volatile, they might be doing it this way. If it's a judgmental or influential, retaliatory, or it's a passive one, paranoid, if it's overwhelming or self-inflicting. So probably you can just figure the picture out and see which one is what is going around with the client. So now again, moving to the doodles, which reveal the subconscious thought. Generally, as I told you, the best way to figure out or interpret doodle is ask them to bring any of their previous diary or a notebook and then read through it. So basically, it helps us to understand their state of mind, the shapes and the objects drawn, the curves, the colors, and the ink that is used. So the position of the scribble, which is again an important aspect. So if it's art shaped, then it indicates that the person is secretive. If it's retracing one, then you can see the client is overworked. If it's more about crisscross, you can see the anxiety. If it's a very straight line, probably they are very straight and they are of the attitude of no nonsense. Then if it's a pointed shape, you can talk about the ambitions, competitive nature. So circling around, it's more about love, and the person doesn't like to be in conflict. So if they are more about the squares, again, squares are edgy, but then they are straight. So if it's straight, so probably you can understand the person has is good with problem solving skills and organization, but needs to see the tangibility as well. So if it's about the triangle, you can just assess that they might be very dynamic, powerful, and ambitious. Flowers, they're very loyal, faithful, along with being they're pleasant people. So the generally flowers depict the pleasantness or the warmth around them, so you can understand their relationship with the people as per se. Then the center flower is again, it's more about the confidence and how they like the attention part, but it could also be a suggestive of obsessive compulsive disorders. Moving on to stars, again, they are spades, so they are very optimistic, shiny, impatient, and enthusiastic. The circle ones like to be loved and avoids conflicts. Then cubes are the clever thinkers, and houses are family oriented or enjoy stability in life. Then wiggly lines, they are adaptable, rapid thinker. Then zigzag lines are strong minded and daring personalities. So this is more about the doodles, wherein you can figure out the shapes as such. Now, color and their interpretation. All right. So, moving on to, we all know as the dark colors are heavily shaded, they convey the moods, like how the person is, like, and how the person's mood could be serious one, or if it's pale or timid, then they could be indecisive or sensitive. So that way you can figure it out. Now I'll be just describing each color and how their interpretation goes. So colors are attuned with their vibration. You can even figure that out with the color that the person is wearing or the color that a person is opting in general. So like red, it's a color of energy. It talks about love, it talks about anger. It's a strong color. It's about feelings. So, and in this, on the other hand, pink, it's a very warm color, it's a sensitive color of, it's a soft color basically. Then moving on to the orange, which is again an intense one, so with the dynamic energy. Then yellow, which is a bright sharp and it is associated with the intellect. Green, which is a natural energy based color of relaxation and growth. So even we can see the nature is green in color, so which is depicting the growth part, like plants. So turquoise, which is a cool color associated with calm, control, pride, detachment pattern. Blue, it's a color of peace, trust, and discipline, loyalty, and spirituality. Purple or indigo, it's a rich, deep with an insight. It's also a spiritual color of dignity and authority. Then violet, associated with inspiration and spirituality. Brown, it's a very down to earth color. It's again a color of nature and practicality. So, moving on to the last one, which is black, it is associated with straightforwardness, discipline, serious thing, and the facts. So that's more about colors. Then we have another methods like grad scribble methods, and they're talking about how we'll be providing them with certain words and asking them to associate their emotions with the colors. And won't be covering it much, but I just want to touch the base so that you have an idea how we can incorporate various things and actually work on the process. So just to sum it up all, art therapy, how you have to do it and when you have to do it depends on the client along with the therapist plan of session, but activity initiation and result don't have the weightage here, but we just try to go about with the process. We give more weightage to the process. We try to soothe the client, calm the client through the process. So try to work on building rapport, working on their cognitive functions, soothing them, working on emotionally channelizing them, rather than thinking of getting a product in hand. So few references that I would like to mention, and thanks to you all. Thanks for listening it all patiently.
Thank you so much, um, Ms. Labi ma'am. Karuna ma'am, Are you online with us?
Hanji, sir.
Please proceed for any question and answer in any chat box. And any participant have any question, please on your mic and ask your question. You can ask your question.
Hello. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes,
audible.
Hanji.
Ma'am, I just want to know the color psychology which you said. So can we get the PPT for that?
I don't know. I can share the PPT if you want me to.
Yeah, actually I got it from one of the group, but I don't know who will be sharing. So how can I get the PPT for that?
For sure, I can share the PPT, or even if you'll just search it out, you can get the color guidelines.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Any participants have any questions?
Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, can I ask something?
Yes, you can ask.
Oh, so there's a client यहाँ पे, so he just like draws always like he just draws mythological characters. For example, he's into Sai Baba and all, so he just always draws the mythological characters, especially Khatu Sham. He is very attached with, and he just always draws them and colors them very beautifully. So like what can I do for that? Because like drawing them is not something bad, but it's just a repetitive behavior he's just showing. So like how can I divert and can do something regarding that?
Okay, so basically you have to see first of all what is the diagnosis. If it is a repetitive pattern, probably they might be falling under the spectrum category. And if it is so, so probably they might be falling under the spectrum thing. Then probably you can actually start by weaning it off. So backward chaining could be helpful, and then desensitizing with associating them with another patterns that are of their interest initially, and then going about with the different patterns. And then it could be one method per se, but it's not the whole process. You'll have to do desensitization through various means. I hope that part is clear.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any participant, any questions? Okay. मैं देख रहा हूँ क्वेश्चन में भी कोई
Ma'am,
नहीं है तो
sorry for interruption. I did not get the study material in Google. I googled it for the color therapy guidelines, but I've not been able to get.
All right. I can share a few resources if you want me to, or I'll share it with sir. I don't know exact procedure, but I'll do the same.
I will share the PPT on your mail. I'm from the CRC and ma'am sent to me PPT and I will share the PPT with you. Thanks for participating. और प्रोग्राम्स को आगे करते हुए सबसे पहले अपने वोट ऑफ थैंक्स के साथ प्रोग्राम को यहीं खत्म करना चाहूंगा. तो इसके लिए मैं सबसे पहले अपने रिस्पेक्टेड रिसोर्स पर्सन लवी शर्मा मैम को थैंक्स करना चाहता हूं कि जिन्होंने आज अपना इम्पोर्टेंट समय दिया और इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ थेरेपेटिक आर्ट बेस्ड इंटरवेंशन इन रिहैबिलिटेशन एंड देयर सिग्निफिकेंट के बारे में बताया. ये बहुत ही नॉलेजेबल टॉपिक रहा सभी रिहैबिलिटेशन प्रोफेशनल्स के लिए. इसके लिए मैम को मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं. साथ ही अपने मंत्रालय की तरफ से, अपने संस्थान की तरफ से, अपने सभी कलीग्स की तरफ से, अपने सीनियर की तरफ से मैम थैंक यू सो मच. साथ ही मैं धन्यवाद के अगली कड़ी में मैं थैंक्स करना चाहता हूं अपने डायरेक्टर PDDU NIPPD मिस मीना कुमारी शर्मा मैम का और डायरेक्टर CRC लखनऊ श्री रमेश कुमार पांडे सर का, जिनके मार्गदर्शन से हम ये प्रोग्राम करने में सफल हो पाए. थैंक यू सो मच सर और मैम. और साथ ही मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं हमारे CRC लखनऊ के सभी कलीग्स का जो हमारे साथ प्रोग्राम में प्रत्यक्ष और अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से जुड़ते हैं और हमें सपोर्ट करते हैं कि प्रोग्राम सफलतापूर्वक हो सके. साथ ही मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं CRC लखनऊ कि सभी ऑफिशियल्स के साथ हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए सभी पेरेंट्स का जो हमारे प्रोग्राम में जुड़े हैं, और सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स का जो सभी रिहैबिलिटेशन प्रोफेशनल्स के हमारे साथ प्रोफेशनल जुड़े हुए हैं, क्योंकि इनके उपस्थिति से ही हम ये प्रोग्राम को सफल करने में सफल हो पाया है. थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू, एंड थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर कनेक्टिंग विथ अस. थैंक यू लवी मैम. आप सभी पार्टिसिपेंट से रिक्वेस्ट है कि गूगल लिंक शेयर कर दिया जाएगा, जिसको फिल करने से आपको सर्टिफिकेट आपके मेल पे चला जाएगा. तो ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट प्लीज फिल द गूगल लिंक फॉर योर सर्टिफिकेट, एंड थैंक यू सो मच. आप सभी पार्टिसिपेंट लेफ्ट कर सकते हैं.